So welcome to our event. Thank you so much for being here, co-sponsored by Law Career Services. We got together as a board and we talked about different issues that affect women and affect people in the university. And we thought that one thing that hadn't been addressed that we wanted to see addressed was professional attire. And that's how to be professional but not to lose your own distinctive style. So today to discuss this issue, we have our Dean, Dean Rainey, and we have Professor Kwan, who is the Assistant Director, right, of Academic Development, thank you, sorry. And we have Professor Neitz, who is a full-time tenured faculty here. I'm going to turn it over to Erin Crum, who has a slideshow presentation for us, and we hope you enjoy.
Can I interrupt for 1 second? Could I ask our international woman judge, please, stand up to introduce yourself. We have a program here at Golden Gate where every year we bring in a distinguished international woman judge who is a fellow here and gets a fellowship to get an LLM in an area of her choice, and we are so honored to have an international woman judge from Kenya. So could you just introduce yourself?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Jerry Thuku. I am a master's student studying an LLM in International Legal Studies. I come from Kenya on the eastern side of Africa. And I'm so glad that I was dressed for the occasion. I had a presentation this morning and I thought I can't just come my shabby self. And so I dressed up and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, we're going to start by kind of going through what is the difference between, a lot of the questions people have is what's the difference between formal wear for an office and business casual, and then what's casual attire. So we're going to kind of go through some different do's and don'ts with attire, hosiery, accessories, and things like that. So we'll start off by talking about formal business attire. And I guess with the first question, what does that mean?
Sure. So thank you for inviting me. I have always been a bookworm who would rather buy a book than a sweater, so my friends think it's very funny that I'm on a fashion panel. But I do feel like I found a dress code that works for me as a lawyer, and so I'm happy to share some advice and tips. To me, I think one thing that is very clear is that all three of us have different styles, and we're all successful lawyers. So that tells you something, right? That you can really find the style that works for you. You can still be yourself, and you can find your own style as you dress like a lawyer. So whatever advice we're offering today and it doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. Find your own style that you think would work. In terms of what is formal business attire, to me, I'm going to preface all my comments by saying that I was trained as a lawyer in New York City and then went to work in San Diego. So I feel like I've seen the polar opposites of what lawyers wear. Formal business attire to me is a full suit. So whether that's it can be in really any color, but the traditional colors are black, gray, and dark brown. It can be a skirt suit or a pantsuit. And I think that, to me, if you're wearing, for example, like a cardigan sweater with a button down is not, in my sense, is not a formal business attire. To me, it would be a full suit. Or if it's like a cocktail reception, maybe a black dress or something like that. You're going to have a different taste.
First of all, this picture back here, you know, is everything that I advise against. And there's no color in this, except for black and white and gray, maybe a little brown. So I'll get back to that. But my whole approach to all of these questions is I start from the premise that in American society still, women suffer from low self-esteem and have a tendency to often not really experience how wonderful they really are, and therefore not to project that beyond themselves. I personally feel that as long as you're not wearing something that is sexually inappropriate, and we can get to that later, or something that is really ridiculous, that the fact is that what you really need to project is that you like and respect yourself, you like and respect other people. And remember that essentially almost every interaction you have, particularly as a lawyer you're a leader. And as a leader, you have influence on other people. You're leading people down the primrose path to your client's story. You're leading in many different ways. But I honestly think that all of it is a form of almost controlled flirtation with both men and women. Your job is to really get somebody to really buy into what it is you are trying to persuade them about. And so you have to persuade them that you are a person of substance, that you are competent and confident, and that you like them and you like other people. And of course, if you have an axe murderer of a client, that you like your client too. But it is important to get across that you really do like other people, including the person you're addressing. Okay, so that sort of as a back, and women too often, I believe, are still buying into the stereotypes of not being particularly assertive. If they're going to be in the legal profession, they have to look like the least attractive man they know, and so forth. So to me, whatever it is you're going to wear as a lawyer, and I guess we're talking about formal business attire, to me, women have advantages that men don't have in the area of attire. You do not have to wear a suit to be formal business attire, in my view. Now, my husband cautioned me this morning. The fact is that I practiced law for several years, but I was a civil rights lawyer. I didn't practice in a big firm where they're more uptight and so forth, or in a corporate law department. And so you have to take what I say with a grain of salt. Most of my jobs have been jobs where I have more latitude than women working in the kind of environments that Professor Benedetto Needs was talking about. Nevertheless, to me, formal business attire really means something that looks like you paid some attention to the milieu you were going to find yourself in. So, for example, I tend to wear, and I did this when I practiced law, dresses with jackets over them, often open. That, to me, is just as formal a business attire as a regular suit. Too often, suits don't look particularly good on women. Depends on, particularly if you just sort of overdid it at Christmas. And a plain, say, black or blue or gray or brown dress with a jacket that has a little pizzazz to it. For example, here on my left, we have here a jacket that has real pizzazz. Now she's wearing a suit because it matches a skirt, but she could just as well have been wearing a black dress or even a dark purple dress or something, or a lavender dress with that jacket, or the color of her sweater with that over it, and that still would be formal business attire in my book. The main thing is to feel good about how you look as well as have it be appropriate. And you don't have to look like a mud fence, as my mother used to say. So I really think that you think about colors and the judicious use of colors. For example, I wore this suit today not because I would not wear this doing a jury trial for several reasons. One, I wouldn't wear silk because silk is considered to be expensive, and it is. And you don't want a jury or a judge to think you're getting above yourself, particularly if you're in a big firm where they figure, yeah, she can afford that. On the other hand, the same color but in wool, I think, would be completely appropriate, as opposed to, say, turquoise blue or some really scream out color. But this is an elegant color. Now, if you don't look good in this color, don't buy something in it. But okay. I wouldn't wear it. The second reason I wouldn't wear it to trial would be I think that anything that is even remotely low cut, and this is not low cut, but for trial I would always wear something that went straight across here, because there's a question on this thing that says, how low cut is too low cut. If you have to ask that question, you should not be wearing what you're wearing. You should wear stuff that in no way calls attention to sexuality, in my view. So I would say that, so I wouldn't wear something that had this deep a V, even though it's not particularly deep. I can wear it as a dean, but I wouldn't wear it in court. But I could wear something with a neck that was just higher, that's all. And the same goes, the third reason I wouldn't wear this is that I like short skirts. I would wear short skirts to a business, not horribly short skirts, but the kind that I wear to business meetings and regarded as business attire in court, it's important to wear something long enough that when you bend over the exhibit table, you don't have to work. Basically, you just don't want to have to work. On the other hand, you don't want to look like your great aunt Suze, you know, and so, you know, you don't want to wear some skirt if you're going to be wearing a skirt, and I am not comfortable in pants. My mother was a medical school professor. She never wore pants, so I just don't. I do everything she did, you know. She did, too. But basically, I am only comfortable in skirts. But if I were going to court, I would probably wear a skirt 2 inches longer, but certainly not below the knee. I mean, I'd rather shoot myself than wear a skirt below the knee, but that's just me. So I think there are colors of red that are, you know, I think you can wear an ordinary kind of nice color, bright red like that, for a business. They forget your bottle there. For a business meeting, if it's toned down by something, say black fringe or something like that, or black, you know, piping or something, or you know, it doesn't scream out, and as long as it isn't tight fitting and that kind of stuff. But for court and for more formal things, you can wear attractive colors, just not anything that you don't wear fire engine red or turquoise blue or you know, you use some good judgment, but you don't have to wear teal either. I don't know if you've ever looked at a law firm website, but 99% of law firm websites are either hideous dark blue or teal. Skadden Arps, probably the richest firm on earth, their website is red. Okay, so anyhow, that's what.
Yeah, I would just say that I agree with both of them. In terms of formal business attire, I think of it as there's a difference between going to court and then going to a business function. So if I were going to court, I would definitely be in your standard suit, jacket, and pants, or jacket and skirt. But in terms of if it's formal business attire for, say, a business meeting or for work, it could be a suit or it could be a dress with a jacket. Partly depends on what the event is and also depends on the people. Because I did practice in San Francisco, and your clients are all different, right? If you deal with Silicon Valley clients, they tend to be, their idea of formal business is like jeans and a t-shirt. And you're lucky if they have shoes on. So, you got to think about who are you meeting, and then I do agree with Jean Ramey that part of this is you want to be happy with how you look and proud of how you're presenting yourself. And if you're dressed in a way that you don't particularly like, you may not be projecting yourself at your best.
Thank you. The next topic is we're going to talk about business casual. And what does that mean? I know a lot of firms say that during the week, when it's just kind of the work week and you're not meeting with clients, business casual is appropriate. Some firms, it's always business formal. What's kind of the do's and don'ts of business casual, and how do you navigate those waters?
So I think to really do business casual right, you have to have a lot of money, which I have never had as a lawyer, really, or money that I'm willing to spend on clothing, I should say, right? So because business casual requires a lot of separates, and being able to put those separates together and having an eye for fashion like my co-panelists have, which I frankly don't have as much or as well of an eye for fashion as they do. So, so I can tell you my story of this. So I started as a lawyer clerking in federal court, and when we get to the hosiery part, I'll have some good stories from the court. Then I went and worked for the Legal Aid Society, where if I wore a full suit in front of my former foster youth, 19-year-old homeless clients, they would not have said a word to me. I needed to be someone who seemed accessible, so I wore jeans and button-downs, and that could be, in that context, that was business casual, right? Because I still had to look like a lawyer, so I couldn't just roll in a t-shirt and sweatpants, but I wanted to look like someone that was accessible in a soup kitchen, and so that's how I did that. Then when I went to Morrison & Foerster, our clients were corporations usually, and people who had a lot of money. When we were meeting in sort of highfalutin kind of places, and so I defaulted to what I knew from federal court, which was a full suit every day. And after 2 weeks, the partner came, and I was also the only woman in that department, so I didn't have any women really to look at and say, how do you dress for meetings with these clients? So, and this is a tip I would probably offer, I default to formal at all times. If you're not sure what to wear, if you go formal, you're going to look like someone who took this meeting seriously.